because our heart works on energetic frequencies. So like our heart is able to shift into different frequencies just through our thoughts and emotions. Because you'll know there's this in your own life. When you're in love, you can't help but have your heart palpitate. It's on a higher frequency because it's beating at a more rapid rate. So through controlling the beating of your heart, you can control the frequency that your heart operates in, and through, you know, emotions and different thoughts and narratives, because essentially what causes your heart to beat faster and slower is the chemical releases from your brain. So if you feel like you're in love, then your brain will release the chemicals and the dosages for when you're in love, and your heart will respond. And essentially that's how that all works. So like our heart is able to sense through, you know, quantum entanglement, energetic shifts on the same frequency. So they do this with frequency resonance, where resonating frequencies influence and interact with each other, whereas alternating frequencies don't, which is very, very interesting to understand, because when we add quantum entanglement into that, then it's, you know, quantum entanglement says or observes that one particle, or, you know, one electron, I don't know what they do, but can influence another irrelevant of distance. So distance holds no relevance, instantaneously. So it's sort of like, essentially, if you resonate with what you want, you can influence the behavior of that other object. And now science currently understands this in terms of particles. So, you know, we're not quite there on fully understanding it, but we briefly do. But spirituality, like the yogic beliefs, understand this a lot more deeply, because they've been studying it actively for the past like 5,000 years. It's the oldest religion. But essentially what the yogics believe is that, like, when you're in your energetic frequency or your energetic state, or, you know, being, which you can access through, you know, deep meditation and stuff like that, which I don't really understand, but yeah, you can do some pretty wild shit, pretty much. So like things like, you know, they do energetic healing, where they use meditation and understanding of the human body and the mind and like the energetic, to be able to access and put the body in a state where repair and rejuvenation of cells happens at a faster rate, which is pretty wild, but I don't really understand how to do that yet. I tore all the ligaments in my foot about a month or two ago, and decided that I was going to do a deep tissue massage to try and get rid of the pain and the sort of seizing, and tore them even deeper and severely tore them all. And then my foot was in so much pain, and I tried to do these meditative practices, but no, she didn't go well. It got painful and painful and painful, and then I was in a moon boot for a week. Yeah. So like, but supposedly you can. So that's one thing I want to figure out. One thing I'm working towards understanding is really understanding the finer aspect of how spirituality, and if you think about spirituality is just connection to other. So it doesn't have to be connection to everything. You know, you can have a spiritual like relationship with one practice you do. Like you don't, you know, so like if you wanted to, for example, believe like, oh no, like usually you gotta, because you can't really have, you know, one belief as being spiritual and then another belief is not. Like one is sacred, one is not, because then we're just going through life categorizing life. So as Sadhguru says, it either has to be all is sacred or none is sacred, which is something I try to practice in, you know, a rock on the ground is as sacred as me, you know, is as sacred as if I'm praying to a God, you know. But to me, in my mind and how I visualize God is everything that is currently around me. God is the trees, the wind, the sun, the stars. Like God is everything. So it's sort of like when we can appreciate everything as being God, we're able to sort of see the beauty in the birds and the songs that they sing, the beauty in, you know, even the spiders and the webs that they create, you know, in the trees, in the clouds in the sky and how they form, in how the wind feels, you know, like that's what spirituality is. Do you sort of see? Spirituality is that connection and appreciation and love for everything around you. You know what I mean? But there's no one way to practice it. It's individual to everyone. So sort of like the way it goes with the rules is whatever you feel is right for you to do in life, you know, without harming other people, you know, or oppressing or, you know, standing over other people, like you're free to do. Like that's what's important to you in life. So for me, hiking is very important. Getting out into nature, experiencing nature is important to me. So it's like, you know what I mean? I should incorporate and do that in my everyday or my life and get out and experience it. But it's also like no one has the right to tell you like how to live your life. This is your life. So it's sort of like what means something to you in life? Like who means something to you? Like who do you want to be around? Who do you want to be in life? By answering all of these questions, you're able to have a framework for what the ideal of your life could look like, which is very, very helpful. Sorry, my arm is just a bit sore, but it's very, very helpful in the context of once you have a framework, now there are targets that can be hit. Now there is understanding on sort of, you know, what it's going to look like for you to, you know, live your best life, be the version or the ideal version of yourself. Because when we don't have targets or goals to hit, it's hard to stay motivated, because what motivates us is accomplishment. In terms of when we accomplish a task and get it off a list, that makes us feel motivated because we get releases of dopamine in large amounts, and what happens is it's our brain trying to like basically condition in positive behavior that gets us to where we want in life. So like it used to be that our brain would condition in like survival behavioral traits, like being able to know which trees had food, where to find water, and all of that. Oops, sorry. But now it's more like sociological and like psychological. So it's more about psychology and like sociology nowadays. Okay? So like when we understand this, we can see how naturally our brain is currently wired to, you know, release the biochemical responses that make us feel good about ourselves in every moment. So, you know, working that out, like how to do that, just puts you into a nice blissful state where even if things are going wrong in your life, you're able to shift your perspective to one that sees opportunity instead of one that is in a victim mentality where you're feeling loss. Do you sort of understand what I mean? So like, because when we get into fight or flight mode, sorry about the camera shaking, but when we get into the but when we get into understanding this at a higher level, right, basically like we want to be able to choose the activities that release the dopamine so that we can choose the activities that align best to us. So like for example, running releases endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, you know, sometimes oxytocin. So like if you train or run with friends, it'll release oxytocin because you're sharing that experience with other people, and oxytocin is the chemical required to sort of bring us together and connect us with each other. That's why it feels so good when it's released, is because it's meant to make us conditioned to feel good around people that we like and love, so that we, you know, feel a need. So like its primary function is in childcare, where, you know, if parents don't care about their kids, the kids are at risk of malnutrition, of neglect, and all those things. So that's why this biochemical response is there. Does that sort of make sense? So, you know, it's most powerful with mothers and children, but like through conditioning in the activities and doing it consistently over long durations, so like decades, it sort of has the exact same effect to the same level as a mother has to her child. So if we think about lifelong friends, it's sort of like there's nothing really they could do to upset us. You know what I mean? We can be pissed off at them, we can not want to talk to them, you know, we can, and all of this, but it's sort of like there's just a familiarity or a comfort level of having that person and being around that sort of perspective that you have. But sometimes instead of it being out of, you know, enjoyment, it can be out of convenience, or it can be out of, you know, convenience and comfort. So sometimes we have relationships with friends that are based out of convenience and comfort, and sort of, you know, they're not bad sort of friendships, but the problem is they're self-limiting, because typically, you know, we will self-regulate our who we are to the environment we're around if we're gaining our validation and authorization from our environment around us. So if I need other people to validate a decision for me to, make a career move or, change my life, well, then I have to wait until I have consensus before I'm able to action it. So this leaves us at a sort of time delay sort of issue where basically we cannot kick off or start any change in our life unless we have consensus with the people who we seek consensus from. So if they don't give consensus, because unfortunately, the way some people have your best interests in heart is that they will limit your life so that you don't have to suffer failure. So it's not like they do it out of spite, or sometimes people will project their own pain and trauma into sort of like the behavioral conditioning of those around them. So like, for example, someone who has been cheated on a lot will tend to, when people are talking about, love or, new relationships, they will usually, shit all over it, so to speak, with just, these pessimistic, negative viewpoints, trying to discourage other people because they're too afraid to open themselves up and keep moving forward along that path. So they're trying to discourage any and everyone from doing it so that they have people around them and they're not alone. Because it's a fear of abandonment that they can't overcome. So they never open up, and they're too afraid to open up, and then they just get caught in a loop of convenience and comfort. So you always want to sort of change the convenient part for luxury, in terms of, when I want to be comfortable, I want to be comfortable with something that makes me feel good, in terms of something I want in life. I don't want to settle for things that are just there in the moment. I want to settle for things that I actually want in life, if that sort of makes sense. That's the shift we got to make, just through the language of focusing on, what is luxury for me? So what is the luxury career? What is the luxury income? And you can find this in any industry in life. If you become a plumber, you could go and work for the #1 plumbing company, let's say in Australia, and work your way up into being, maybe middle management or high management, to get to the best version or ideal that career could go. You know what I mean? Or it could be self-employment, or specialization. So specializing and then sort of contracting for large organizations that have very, very specific requirements, and then you're able to get insane specialization bonuses in terms of your retainers and your pay. Because you think about it, like anyone that does anything like specialized, like highly specialized, like think about people that set up oil rigs. The project manager that organizes the construction and organizes everything and oversees everything gets paid millions of dollars per annum, because they have highly specialized skill that allows them to effectively and efficiently do something, or to take a very, very complex, costly problem and organize it and streamline it so that it's efficient and so that it's effective. So it's sort of like in anything in life, if you believe in yourself, that you can and you have the ability, so you can either do it right now and learn as you go, or you can just learn. You know what I mean? But you always have to take action. Action is the ignition. So action's the point of ignition where belief and faith create the combustion of the fuel that fuels your intuition to becoming more and more switched on and more confident. Because you've got to think about it, the more confident you are in your decision making, the less indecision you're going to have. And confidence is just certainty. So, you know, certainty, like if we think about